There's a seismic shift happening in one of the world's biggest economies. And you know what? It's being driven by a generation that is completely tearing up the old rulebook of how we buy and sell things. We are talking about India's Gen Z. And today, we're going to break down the absolutely massive economic wave they're creating. Okay, let's just dive right in with a number that puts this whole revolution into perspective. $2 trillion. That is the kind of spending power this generation is projected to have in India. You see, this isn't just a market shift, it's a complete remaking of the market itself. And this timeline, it just lays out the explosive growth we're talking about. I mean, right now, their collective spending power is already a staggering $860 billion. By 2025, their direct out-of-pocket spending is going to hit $250 billion. But then, fast forward just one decade to 2035, and that number just skyrockets to that $2 trillion mark. It's incredible. So, who exactly is this force of nature driving such a monumental change? Well, let's get to know the stars of our show today, India's Generation Z. And let's be clear, they aren't just the future of the economy. They are very, very much the present. Just look at the scale of their influence today. Gen Z is already responsible for 43% of the country's total consumption. I mean, stop and think about that for a second. We're talking about a single generation whose earning power is really just getting started, and they're already behind nearly half of all consumer spending. And to really get them, you have to understand their behaviors, which are, well, they're entirely new. Take this term shopshalizing. This isn't just shopping anymore, right? It's a full-on social event. They're sharing what they're looking at, getting instant feedback from friends on a video call. They're turning the act of buying something into this shared digital experience. And this whole blend of the physical and digital, what people are calling phygital, it's just second nature to them. This chart shows it perfectly. 50% of Gen Z shoppers are on their phones while they're inside a physical store, maybe checking a wish list or seeing what a creator they follow thinks. That's way more than millennials, and it just proves how seamless their online and offline worlds really are. So here's the crucial point. You're looking at a highly informed, really discerning consumer. They are almost twice as likely to jump on a new trend than to just stick with an old brand. A huge 72% are looking to creators for inspiration, not to some old school ad. They do more research on their purchases than previous generations, and get this, their economic power is about to get a massive boost as more and more of them start working. So, all of this, it brings us to the central conflict in this story, which, is also the central opportunity. There is a huge disconnect between this powerful new consumer and the businesses that are trying to reach them. On the one hand, businesses are starting to wake up. The data shows that almost half of them, 45%, they can see this Gen Z wave coming. They recognize the potential, they get that this generation is a big deal. But here it is. Here is the massive disconnect. Only 15% of those businesses are actually doing anything to engage with them. And that gap, right there, between knowing something's important and actually acting on it, that's where this multi-trillion-dollar opportunity is hiding in plain sight. And listen, the experts are basically sounding the alarm. As Nimisha Jain from BCG India puts it, this isn't some good-to-have strategy anymore. Engaging with Gen Z is absolutely crucial for survival. Plain and simple, ignoring this generation is just not an option. So, okay, if you're a business or an entrepreneur listening to this, the big question is, how do you bridge this gap? How do you actually connect with this audience in a real way? Let's walk through a tangible playbook for how to get it right. We can actually use the booming t-shirt market in India as a perfect little case study here. It's a great metaphor for the kind of quick, modern, direct-to-consumer approach that really clicks with Gen Z. The whole modern D2C model really boils down to these key steps. First, you've got to find your unique niche so you can stand out from the crowd. Next, you have to master social media. Be where your customers are. Then, you pick the right business model for your goals. And finally, you price your product in a way that makes sense for your costs and for what people will actually pay. And when you put the two models side by side, it becomes crystal clear why this direct-to-consumer, or D2C, approach is so powerful. We're talking lower startup costs, total control over your brand story, and a direct line to your customers. It's fast, it can adapt to trends in a heartbeat, which is something traditional retail really struggles with. So, we've looked at the numbers, the behaviors, the strategies, but what's the ultimate takeaway here? Why does this revolution matter to everyone, not just, big corporations? The big takeaway is actually really simple. Engaging with Gen Z is not a niche marketing strategy. It's not a side project. It is, quite literally, the future of retail in India. This isn't just a trend that's going to pass. This is the new foundation for the entire consumer market. And that leaves us with one final thought. This generation, they aren't just playing the game anymore, they are fundamentally rewriting the rules. So the only real question left is, are you ready to play?